Hey, this is Jermaine Morgan with Jermaine Morgan TV, and today I got none other than my brother from another mother, Mr. Will Burns, here with me today. We're going to play a little music and we're going to talk about a little production, y'all. Stay tuned. right, so bro, welcome. Finally glad to get you on the show. You've been behind the scenes for a long time, so people can finally put a face with a name for the people who are. Let me introduce you this way. For the people who don't know, if you heard any of my records, for you 10 to 15 to 300 people out there that might have heard my records, this is the guy behind most of my songs on any album that you've heard. The cool thing about us is how long have we been knowing each other? About 10 years now?
I think so.
It's been about 10 years. It was like, you got those certain people that you meet, and it's like, y'all meet, and it's an instant connection, like a brotherhood built like from day one. And this is honestly what happened with this guy. I actually met him through my good friend David Haynes. And matter of fact, there's a video on YouTube the day we met. That was the actual video that was recorded. He ain't had no hair then, so so he might look a little different, but this is the same guy. And so I can honestly say that from that day on, we built a friendship first, and just kind of started building from there, playing music together. And once I started kind of creating records, that kind of thing, he came on board and has been my go-to guy ever since. So I just wanted to, do this vibe. The song that you guys actually heard us play was from my album Life. It was a song called No Words. I think that album came out 2014. I'll put the link below if you want to go pick up that album from the website or something like that. But I mean, that's one of many songs that we've recorded and just created music. He actually played keyboards, drums, and some auxiliary parts on that song as well. So we were basically covering the original that we did years ago. So yeah, so dude, again, good to have you here, and just want to let people in. I want to let people into your way of thinking, because the biggest thing that happens on the production side when we work together is I always know when I give you something, I don't really have to give you any instruction on what I want. I already know you're gonna kind of take it left field, and you're gonna hear it completely different from what I heard it, but it's gonna be the same as what I was envisioning, if that make any sense at all.
Gotcha.
So what's your train of thought when you start creating, like when I hand you something, or when an artist or somebody hands you something and you start doing you to it? Like what's the train of thought? What goes through your mind then?
I'm laughing, man, because honestly, I'll be praying like, Lord, what should I do with this? Because there's so many things you can do. I guess the deeper you get into music, it's so limitless. I mean, it really comes down to expression and preference, which brings me to, I guess, what most artists want whenever I'm working with them. As an artist, I understand how sensitive it is, so I always try to figure out what liberties I have or don't, and just try to stay in context and also be true to the music. So those are some of the things I'm thinking usually. I definitely want to kind of connect with everybody that's a part of the records, to just develop and keep the chemistry of it. Just keep the integrity of it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, I know, most people know now after hearing you play, it's obvious that you're a drummer, because a lot of people didn't know that, because everybody, even when we were, a lot of people don't know me and you traveled on the road. Mm-hmm. You were the MD with Canton Jones. We did that for about 3 or 4 years. Yeah. And most of the people saw you play, they saw you play keys. And because Lil Dale was on drums then, right. Devin Taylor, Sticks, everybody knows Sticks. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of people didn't know you play drums, but that's actually your first. Is that your first instrument?
It is.
Okay.
Yep.
So when you're creating music, are you thinking, like, which one comes first, the rhythmic or the melodic, or is it like the same thing when you're thinking on you creating?
Man, I guess it's a cesspool, but it's a collective thing. I think the more I learn from instrument to instrument, I never really separate them. It didn't start off that way, okay. But definitely the more I've learned, the more I just connect them all harmonically and rhythmically. It's just I think for me, foundations have to kind of be there. If we're starting a record or doing a record, I always go to drums because it's the foundation. Depending on what record we're doing, what type of record, whether that's like a ballad or something, Whether it's if it's in tempo, if it's in time, I'm definitely paying attention to rhythm, percussion. From there, just building, just making sure everything feels right, how it's supposed to feel, and kind of building off of that, and trying to be as unique as possible. I mean, it's so much, it's so many, it's so much music, so many different interpretations, and most people have preferences, and that's cool. I just try to be unique and just make it as creative and fun as possible. If that answers your question.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So with that being said, who were like for the people who've heard you play on whether it's my record or other things that you've played on, the people that follow you or whatever, who are some of your biggest influences that kind of, because you don't really, to me, you don't sound like nobody. It's like you got your own thing, but I know obviously there were some influences there that kind of helped you to get to your sound. So who are some of like the most influential people who helped you to kind of develop your sound?
Man, it's so weird. Because I think I look at the people that I might have initially noticed, and then the people that inspired them, and to find out about the people that inspired them. And it's almost like somebody asking me like my favorite song or like favorite group. I don't necessarily have a favorite group or favorite song or favorite individual, I guess, as far as a human being. That's like the source of inspiration. Just seeing how much music God has put in so many different people. My intention is to just take it all in. Gotcha. You know what I mean? And instead of just limiting myself to a particular sound or a particular type of harmony, I just try to take it all in and try to at least understand, even stuff I don't necessarily may like. I just try to at least understand it so I can understand somebody else's interpretation, and then just appreciate it and just kind of figure out, how to put it all together. Just understanding music. I learning that it was never supposed to be separated kind of helps me just put everything together. And it also gives me a greater appreciation for every individual, to see what everybody brings to the table, just to see the little differences in their approaches. I mean, it's like the same notes, but just to see what they hear, what they feel. That's really kind of what inspires me. I can just kind of look back and see the gifts in so many different people, from singers to musicians. Just hear their interpretation, hear where they're coming from. That's like inspiring. To see other music lovers, you can tell when somebody really kind of loves it. I mean, in their delivery, in their being meticulous, it allows you to see they really have a passion for it. They really love it.
Absolutely.
And when they deliver, it's just like, okay, that's cool. Even if, I never thought of that. It's still pretty cool. All of that stuff is inspiring, man. I always try to think back to the times when I was a little kid, like I really didn't have as much understanding of music. That's what made me want to play drums. I didn't get it, theoretically, but I got it spiritually. I could feel the musicality, the energy behind everybody playing, and that it inspired me, and that continues to roll over into other individuals. Like I come into contact with people I find out about. There's some great players. If I started naming names, I would have to keep naming a lot.
Yeah, we'd be
you know what I mean?
Same here.
Yeah, it's just a lot throughout history and just now and even to come. So just the love of music, and that kind of bleeding over into the musicality of most of the people that I've heard, that is very inspiring.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Well, that's well said. I mean, I guess, like you said, you can't just box it in to one thing. I think even myself, I can kind of see from your perspective, being a multi-instrumentalist, I mean, neither one of us, I think, focuses on just one instrument.
Right.
So I mean, that sounds simple, but
Yeah.
I know a lot of bass players that only listen to bass players.
Gotcha.
And like nowadays you can run into that thing of everybody starts sounding the same.
Yeah.
I even heard a lot of the more mature players say that about the younger players, saying, y'all need to find your own sound because all of y'all sound like this kind of thing. And one thing, I don't think I sound like anybody when I play, and mainly because I think I got a big variety of influences of people that I pull from.
Yeah.
With the different, I mean, when we go bass player, you got to name your Victor Woods, and when you talking solo bass.
Yeah.
You got, tons of, from John Patitucci, Victor Wooten, Wayman Tisdale. I mean, you got so many people to pull from. But me, I'm also pulling from like B.B. King. I'm pulling from Harvey Watkins, Dwayne Watkins from the Canton Spirituals, quartet people. So I'm pulling from all them Spanky Alford.
Yeah.
I'm pulling from like just so many people, George Benson, singers that I've heard. James Brown is like their vocal phrasing. I'm thinking about depending on the type of song that I'm playing, I'm thinking about all this different stuff, and I'm giving it my interpretation of how I hear it. So I think just kind of piggybacking off what you're saying, being able to be inspired by people, but not become a clone of anyone, embracing that individualism of who you are as a player. And I think for me, I've kind of learned that over time, and I think it's really important for the younger players coming up to really fall into that, because it keeps you from competing with people.
Gotcha.
You know what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
It definitely keeps, I'd say competition can be healthy at times because it pushes you.
Gotcha.
The whole shed environment,
Yeah.
you having people that you feeding off of, they're throwing stuff, when it's healthy, like in terms of y'all ain't at it trying to prove something, but y'all are actually like, okay, I'm going to throw this idea at you and see what you think about this, and you come back, and there's an exchange happening, rather than I'm going to show you how much better I am than you are, so. But I think that thing is healthy and helping you to kind of find your own lane, to develop your own sound and that kind of thing. With that being said, you are in the process at some point, hopefully, working on a record, right?
Yeah. It's a lot of stuff to come. It's a process, I think, for any perfectionist.
Yeah.
It's a process because you want to be authentic to yourself, and you want to be intentional. So sometimes it takes time to just make sure everything is how it's supposed to be. At the same time, the sun is rising and it is setting, so you gotta kind of balance it out, right? Yeah. But yeah, definitely working on that. Sometime around 2017 that should be out.
Okay.
My intention is to, just inspire people, man. You mentioned the competition thing, and I get it. I think the older I got, the more understanding I got, it's just to understand the source of music makes you look at every individual just through that filter. You know what I mean? And just appreciating what everybody has to bring to the table. At the same time, it also helps you to push.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, I have 3 sisters, so it's like to see my sisters doing well, it's amazing, I appreciate it, and then it's also driving. So it's the same thing with my brothers and sisters musically. To see them doing their thing, it's very inspirational. It helps you push towards your goals, and it's really encouraging.
Yeah.
And very inspiring. Same thing. So, with that, I can think of so many people, from hometown, I would say, that are doing really great things. And I guess coming out of the right heart, it should be amazingly inspirational. And there should be some pride behind that, just to see that they're doing great. Yeah. Like for yourself, for instance, I would take you for an example. I appreciate the different things that you're doing and the different things that God is doing through you with the gifts and talents that He's giving you. You know what I'm saying? As well as other people that are making great use of the different gifts that are in them. They're making amazing moves, which is what we're supposed to do with, that responsibility of the gifts and talents that we have. Yeah, so it's amazing, bro. It's inspirational, and I love supporting people. Um, and I don't know why it's so rare. Well, I understand why it's so rare because it's so much. Um, I want to say division coming from competition, But the more we kind of squash that through love and support, it'll be a lot easier, man. I remember a friend of mine. She gave me some advice when I was younger. It's just I didn't get it until I got older. And I looking back at it, I can see how she was looking out. I was like, oh, okay, I get it. But that was kind of just love and support. You know what I mean? Because growing up musically, I guess balancing playing out of the love of just playing and then just playing professionally. It's some things that you should be aware of. It's some things that you should definitely do. But all that comes with understanding, man. If you don't really have people pouring into people, and then first people actually seeking out, information or understanding, certain things we probably won't be able to get over as fast.
I think it's necessary that you have that openness to hear what someone has to say to you and take it in, even if you don't get it right away, and you think that person is completely off at the moment, and it takes you years to get it. It could save you years if you just consider what they're saying. I had this thing that I did. I talked to these students when I did my Music Matters thing, going around visiting these schools, and one of the things that I said to the upcoming students, I think it was a college that I spoke to, one of the things I said to the students, I said, if you would take the time to consider what I'm saying now, it might save you 10 years. Because there's a lot of people, and especially to the young musicians that are watching this, you have a lot of older players who might not be as good as you are, who might not can play half as good as you can play, but there are jewels that these people have, and they're open to share it to you. And one thing I learned about people who've done well with what they know or what the gifts that they have, when they see you have like a closed mind to the information that they have, they're not trying to give it out to you. It's very rare that you find people who are willingly giving this information out anyway, but when you talking to someone and they have already accomplished, they didn't already, got their Grammys or whatever you want to call it, they are most of the time not sharing this information. You have to show them that you want this information because they're not trying to pass it out to you. And I get it because there's a parable or a scripture rather that talks about casting your pearls among swine. Is like, if you gonna just trample over this knowledge that I'm giving you, I'm not gonna waste it on you. I'm gonna give it to somebody who actually cares about what I'm saying. So all that being said, it's important to be open, to have an open mind when someone is trying to give you valuable information and is going to help you go further. So I'm just kind of elaborating off of what you said from receiving.
I think one thing for me to kind of just balance out, even things in music, my entire family isn't as musical. They're all lovers of music, but I kind of bring everything back to my family. I have like one part of the family that's very deep into music, and then another part that loves it and appreciates it. They're not as into it as deep. And just to see their interaction, it even helps me musically. And then just balance out everything, appreciating people for, whatever they bring to the table and whatever they can bring to the table. I think, unfortunately, I've seen a couple of musician friends actually pass. And I think the awareness of the fragile nature of life allows you to appreciate people, puts things in perspective, allows you to kind of balance things out, with people. I mean, because before we go into music, we can play music and, people have like different abilities, but before that, we're people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Most men, they're providers. They gotta, provide. They gotta eat. So it's just to think of things through those type of loving filters, and then go into dealing with everything else. It kind of helps. It helps you not be hot-headed when somebody's saying something that may be, it may be corrective criticism. It helps you to kind of just step back, and think of it and consider it, like you said. and not really be stuck into your way of doing things. And then on the other end, it helps you, open up, teach. I always tell people, I'm an open book. People, like you said, they may try to hold knowledge back, but it's the will of God that we have understanding. So He gives wisdom to us freely. So it's just you pass it along. God tell you to pour into this person, you pour into this person. You never know what God want to do with people. So it's hugely important, and just He tell you to do this. It's huge. I remember different instances when I was younger, and certain people did certain things. I look back and it was like life-changing musically, and it helped in the process of different things. The situation I had with a friend of mine that I told you guys about that gave me corrective criticism, and it didn't even come in the form of, I guess, the traditional way we would think of corrective criticism coming. It was kind of just like, look out for this. You may not want to do this, that type thing. And I just took it in. I was just like, okay. And I looked back at the situation later. I was like, oh, I get it. And the criticism was basically, protecting your brand. It's kind of like that scripture in Proverbs. A good name is worth more than riches.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So is that type thing, and of course it had to do with music in this particular instance. But it makes you sit back and appreciate each situation and value each situation, and if you commit to a situation, give that situation like your 127%. And if you've agreed to it, then you do that. You don't half do it. It makes you take that approach, definitely. And then it also makes you understand the value of presentation. I think in this particular instance, I love to help people, so I was actually trying to help, but this was a professional setting, and the preparation was lacking, and the delivery suffered because of that. And what that communicates to your professional colleagues is one thing. Your heart's intention may be something else, but the communication of what it, communicates professionally is something else. But it just comes down to being aware, it just comes down to being aware. But I was able to receive that from this particular individual, and then other things from other individuals. Like I was saying, that it kind of just helped shape and inspire me. Like it was this one guy, when I was younger, a kid coming up playing drums, he suggested to my mom and dad that I get a metronome. And anybody that knows anything about music knows how detrimental a metronome is to any situation. So it's just pivotal things like that.
Yeah.
People kind of just over the years having the love and consideration in their heart to suggest certain things that will help build an individual up. He didn't have to say, he didn't have to have that conversation with my mom, get him a metronome. But a metronome has helped me through my entire process as a musician, because that's like the foundation of where we put things together.
Yeah.
Another individual, a fellow perfectionist, he was just meticulous about every note, every detail, every approach. And this is still stuff on drums. I hadn't even started playing keys dominantly at that particular moment, but that was something else. I mean, that was another nugget that, this individual kind of opened up and told me certain things, and I was able to, like you said, be on the receiving end and kind of just sit back and take it in. It's just like, man, okay, so that matters. Every artist, every stroke of the brush matters. Mm-hmm. So just taking that approach. It comes down to caring. I think if you love music, you care about it. You can hear the attention to detail in people's approach. You can hear their intention you know, in their approach. You know what I mean? So I just try to take that, build off that, and appreciate that in other people. When it comes down to their approach, you know, their delivery, it all matters. You can hear it all, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So again, as a friend, I appreciate your attention to detail, man. I appreciate your strive for excellence, as we're all striving for excellence. And again, man, it was an honor to have you here on the show, to be able to share, to be able to put a face with a name for people, and so that people can actually see you and see you do all this stuff, and see that it ain't edited to death. There are some people who are just that amazing in real life that can actually play. And again, man, thank you for being a part of this thing, and we're glad to have you. I will put his contact below where you can find him on Instagram and Facebook and all this good stuff. And y'all check him out, follow him, see what he's got going on, and we'll catch y'all on the next episode of Jermaine Morgan TV. Thank you for watching. Peace.